The roar of the engine echoed across my property as I slammed the tractor into gear. She was standing there, arms crossed, glaring like she owned the entire county. Her new Bentley gleamed in the morning sun, parked smack in front of my barn door, blocking the only way to get my livestock out. "Move your car!" I shouted, but she smirked, like my voice meant nothing. "Excuse me," she said, tilting her head, "but this is HOA property. You're not supposed to store tractors here or whatever this is." Her words dripped with fake authority, and her HOA badge, laminated and shoved into her purse, was proof of the kind of entitlement I was dealing with. I took a deep breath. Calm. Measured. I had spent years on farms, fixing things, moving heavy equipment, dealing with idiots who thought rules were suggestions. But this was personal. My barn, my land, my rules. She pulled out her phone. "I'm calling the cops. You're trespassing." Her nails clicked as she tapped, but I had already predicted this move. "Go ahead," I said, "but I also know your HOA police aren't real. You've been bluffing." Her smirk faltered. Just a flicker. What are you?" I revved the tractor. The metal groaned under the strain, the tires dug into the dirt, and she backed up a step. "This is my land," I said quietly, almost under my breath, but loud enough for her to hear. "And nothing, especially not a fake HOA Bentley, is stopping me." Then, with a crunch, I nudged the bumper. Her eyes widened. She screamed, a high-pitched wail that could wake the neighbors, as the tractor inched forward, unstoppable. Metal kissed metal, the Bentley trembled, and I felt a twisted satisfaction as the first scratch appeared. You can't!" she shrieked, but I didn't stop. I knew something she didn't. My grandfather had registered this land properly, decades before the HOA even existed. Every inch, every barn, every path was legally mine. As the tractor pushed, I could see her panic turn to horror. That's when the first twist hit her. This wasn't just a man defending his barn. This was a guy who knew exactly how far he could go without breaking the law. And she was about to find out just how much trouble a Karen can get into when she crosses the wrong veteran. Her phone fell. I heard the plastic hit the ground. And just like that, her control was gone. I didn't stop until the Bentley was nudged aside, hanging on the edge of the driveway, teetering. She stumbled backward, hands over her mouth, eyes wide. And I just sat there, tractor engine humming, watching entitlement crash under reality. I muttered to myself, more for the land than for her, "Never block my barn again." She scrambled to her phone, fumbling, almost dropping it again. "I'm telling the HOA, you'll pay for this," she shouted, her voice cracking like a kid caught sneaking cookies. I leaned against the tractor, arms crossed, pretending to be casual, but inside, I was ready. This wasn't just about a car or a barn. This was about exposing someone who thrived on fake authority. Then she stepped forward, pointing at me, voice rising. "I can have you arrested for destruction of property." Her eyes darted around, hoping anyone would back her up. The neighbors were peeking out from behind fences, whispers carrying like wildfire. I smiled, a slow, deliberate smile. "Funny," I said, "because this land, my barn, my tractor, they're all mine, every inch. You might want to double-check that HOA map before threatening a vet." Her jaw dropped. That's when I saw it. The moment the first crack appeared in her Karen armor. She had expected me to be just another guy, easy to intimidate, easy to push around. She didn't know I'd spent years in service, trained to handle chaos and confrontation with nerves like steel. Her fake confidence faltered. You're bluffing," she hissed. I chuckled softly, almost under my breath. "No bluffing. I've got every deed, every permit, every registration. Even the cops know this land is mine. You're standing on someone else's property, threatening them." Her face twisted in panic. She didn't expect this. She thought a laminated badge and a Bentley were enough to scare me. But now she was the one sweating. The neighbors were recording, phones raised. One brave kid whispered, "She's lying." And just like that, the scene flipped. She was no longer the enforcer. She was the target. Every eye was on her. Every lie, every fake rule she'd ever thrown at someone like me was about to be exposed. She tried to regain control. "I'm calling the cops, right now." I nodded, calm, almost casual. "Do it. But just so you know, I've got all the footage from my security cameras. Every move you made, every time you've harassed the neighbors, every fake notice." Her hands trembled. The first real twist hit her like a brick wall. This wasn't just a property fight. This was a public exposure. Every scream, every threat, every fake claim recorded. And as she stared at me, frozen, I realized something. The real battle hadn't started yet. She had underestimated me completely. And by the time she realized it, it would be too late.
The phone rang, and she nearly jumped out of her heels. "I called the cops! They're on their way!" she yelled, waving the device like it was a sword. Her smirk from earlier had vanished, replaced by a frantic panic that made her look smaller than she really was. I leaned against the tractor, dust on my boots, calm as ever. "Cops, huh? Good. I've got something you don't." Her brow furrowed. What are you talking about?" I pulled my tablet from the glove compartment. Security footage. Every interaction she'd had with the neighborhood, every fake notice she'd dropped, every intimidation attempt, recorded. I tapped a few clips, showing the Bentley blocking the barn, her yelling at neighbors, slapping her fake HOA notice on doors. Her mouth opened, closed, opened again. She was speechless. "You see," I said slowly, "this land? Mine. My barn? Mine. My tractor? Definitely mine. You've been pretending authority that doesn't exist." The first real twist hit her like a punch. I have the HOA backing me," she stammered. I chuckled, leaning closer, lowering my voice so the neighbors could hear. "Backed by an HOA doesn't make you a law enforcement officer. Try impersonating one and it's a whole different story." Her phone rang again and she froze. On the other end, the neighbors were reporting her actions, confused cops asking questions. Her face went pale. "Wait, this isn't what I," she stuttered. I could see her panic spiral. Every scream, every demand, every fake threat she'd thrown my way was about to unravel publicly. "Funny thing about authority," I said, almost gently, "is that it's worthless without the law backing it, and the law backs me." By now, a small crowd had gathered, smartphones out, recording everything. Karen was no longer the aggressor. She was exposed. Her fake cops, fake authority, fake smirk, all crumbling in front of everyone. And just when I thought she couldn't look more ridiculous, she tried one last bluff. I'm calling the tow company. They'll get your tractor." I smiled, revving the engine. "You do that, but I have the receipts, permits, and legal right to move it anywhere I want, including your Bentley." Her scream echoed as the crowd gasped. Twist 2, the real power wasn't in my words, or even the tractor. It was the undeniable proof. I wasn't bluffing. Every lie she'd ever told, every threat she'd ever made was about to backfire spectacularly.
Karen's face was red, veins popping in her forehead as she flailed with her phone like it was a lifeline. You can't do this! I'm reporting you! This is harassment!" I shook my head, taking a slow step forward, tractor idling behind me like a silent guardian. "Funny," I said. "The only harassment I see is you threatening neighbors, blocking property, lying about authority. And now, everyone can see it." Her eyes darted to the small crowd that had gathered. Neighbors, phones out, whispers building into murmurs of shock and laughter. She hadn't expected an audience. She hadn't expected witnesses. Her entire act of control was crumbling in real time. I have the HOA! They'll back me!" she squeaked. I raised a finger, tapping the tablet screen. "Sure, but they don't back fake cops. And these videos? Every illegal move you've made, every intimidation, every order, all recorded. And guess what? This is public now." Her legs wobbled. This isn't fair!" I smiled, almost gently, but my voice carried over the crowd. Life isn't fair, but the law, the truth, that's still on my side, and I protect my land, my family, and my neighbors. That's when she tried her final card, fake cops. A car pulled up, lights flashing, and she pointed like she had just won. "See, cops are here! You're going to jail!" But twist 3 hit her like a storm. The cops weren't real. They were undercover HOA inspectors who quickly realized her claims were bogus. One stepped out and shook his head. "Ma'am, this doesn't fall under our jurisdiction. And this evidence," he gestured to my footage, "clearly shows you blocking property and harassing a resident." Her scream was shrill, almost cartoonish, as the crowd gasped. I stood calm, watching her empire of lies crumble. The Bentley, still teetering from the tractor nudge, was a silent monument to her failed bluff. I took one last step forward. Never block my barn again, or my land, or anyone else's. Entitlement doesn't make you law. The crowd erupted in murmurs of approval. Phones buzzed with clips going viral. And Karen? She was frozen, trapped by her own arrogance, her fake authority exposed for everyone to see.
Karen was still trembling, her hands clutching the Bentley's door as if it could shield her from reality. The HOA inspectors shook their heads, whispering to each other, clearly frustrated by her endless lies. I walked calmly to my tractor, dusting off my boots, letting the silence stretch just long enough to make her sweat. "You know," I said softly, loud enough for the neighbors to hear, "I didn't wake up today planning to destroy your car. I woke up planning to protect my property, my family, my community." Her lips quivered. You think you're clever, don't you?" I smiled, stepping closer. "I don't think. I know." I tapped the tablet one more time, letting the clips play on the portable speaker. Every moment of her fake authority, every intimidation attempt, every false claim broadcasted to the street. The neighbors murmured, some laughing, some shaking their heads in disbelief. Karen's face twisted in humiliation. Her smirk from earlier had completely vanished. Then came the satisfying twist, the legal twist. The HOA had finally contacted their lawyer, only to find out Karen had acted alone, without approval. They weren't backing her. In fact, they were furious. "You've put us in liability," one inspector said firmly, glaring at her. Her knees buckled. I didn't mean." "You meant exactly this," I said, stepping back, letting the tractor rumble in the background like a warning. "Next time, check the law before you act like a tyrant, because lying, threatening, and impersonating authority, that's on you." The Bentley sat there, scratched, dented, but immovable. Karen's confidence was crushed more than the metal ever could be. The crowd recorded everything, phones buzzing, neighbors whispering, some even clapping quietly. Viral proof, public humiliation, and total exposure, all wrapped up in a single morning. She tried to retreat, mumbling something about the cops, but no one followed her. She was alone, exposed, powerless. And for the first time, I let myself smile, not at the damage done, but at the justice served. I stepped into my barn, the tractor engine fading, and whispered to myself, "This is my land, my rules, always." Karen didn't give up. As I locked the barn behind me, she charged toward the street, waving her phone like a white flag of desperation. "I'm calling the cops again! They'll get you this time!" I stepped out onto the porch, watching her frantic pacing. Calm as ever, I let her run out of steam. "Go ahead," I said, almost softly, "but this time think before you act." Her hand shook as she dialed, but twist 4 hit instantly. Every call she made was being overheard by the neighbors, some of whom had conference calls with local authorities for unrelated reasons. Within minutes, she wasn't just talking to the cops, she was broadcasting her own lies in real time to multiple officials. Every exaggeration, every false claim, every fake threat, all being recorded and verified by people who could fact-check in seconds. Her eyes widened as one of the inspectors returned, holding a document. "Ma'am, according to county records, the property, barn, and tractor are all legally owned by him. Any action you take could be considered harassment and impersonation of authority." Karen froze, realizing her bluff had failed again. Sweat dripped from her forehead. She sputtered, I didn't." I stepped closer, my voice calm but firm. "You did exactly what we recorded, and now you're accountable." The neighbors whispered, recording every word, their phones pointing at her like evidence. Every step she had taken to intimidate, to enforce fake rules, to play powerful, crumbled publicly. Her Bentley, still dented and leaning, was now a symbol of entitlement failing against truth. And then came the small but satisfying public twist. Someone in the crowd, a local journalist, shouted, "Hey, this is going viral! HOA Karen can't hide this one!" The words hit her like lightning. She had imagined her name carrying weight in the neighborhood, but now it would be immortalized in social media humiliation. Her fake confidence was gone, panic replaced it. And as I watched her scramble, phone pressed to ear, voice cracking, I realized the most powerful twist hadn't been the tractor or the footage or even the law. It was the exposure itself. The world was watching. She had built a castle of lies, and the first stone was removed. I leaned back, letting the moment settle. "Sometimes," I said quietly, "the truth hits harder than any tractor ever could." By mid-afternoon, the scene had shifted completely. Karen was cornered, pacing nervously near her Bentley, while neighbors gathered in small clusters, sharing footage and whispers. The local authorities had arrived, not to punish me, but to fact-check her claims. Every threat she'd made, every fake notice she'd slapped on doors, every intimidation attempt, verified as false. One officer shook his head, handing her a citation for impersonating authority and harassment. Her face went pale. This can't happen," she yelled, waving her arms, but the officer didn't flinch. "Ma'am, the evidence is clear. You violated multiple local ordinances. You're accountable for your actions." Twist 5 hit. Karen had been so focused on intimidating me that she hadn't realized the legal consequences were stacking up faster than she could react. Her HOA badge, which she had waved like a shield, now meant nothing. Her Bentley, her symbol of wealth and power, stood damaged and public, a monument to her arrogance. I walked over calmly, standing tall. "You thought this land was yours to control, to scare people away. But the truth doesn't need force. The law and the neighbors are enough." She tried one last desperate plea. I didn't know." I shook my head. Intentions don't erase actions. You hurt people, broke laws, and now you face the consequences. The neighbors whispered, phones recording, clips already spreading online. The story of her arrogance, her fake authority, and her total collapse was going viral. Twist 6, not only was she being legally held accountable, but her reputation was being destroyed in real time. I looked at my barn, the tractor resting, dust settling, and felt a quiet satisfaction. Justice hadn't been about revenge. It had been about truth, exposure, and protecting my land. The Bentley, the citations, and the witnesses all told the same story. Karen lost. And then one last small viral twist. A child from the neighborhood shouted, pointing at her, "She's not the boss of anyone." The crowd laughed and cheered, sealing her humiliation in a way no legal citation ever could. I stepped back, letting the moment breathe, knowing the final section would close the story with emotional resolution, family safety, and a patriotic sense of justice.
The sun was setting, casting a golden glow over my land, and for the first time that day, everything felt still. Karen had been escorted away, her Bentley a scratched, dented reminder of arrogance meeting reality. The neighbors lingered, offering nods, smiles, and quiet congratulations. Phones buzzed everywhere, clips of her meltdown and exposure spreading like wildfire. I stood at the barn door, watching my livestock move freely, the tractor resting nearby. My family emerged from the house, and my kids ran up laughing. "Dad, you were amazing!" they shouted. My wife smiled knowingly. She had trained for moments like this, and I had followed through perfectly. Twist 7, the final payoff, hit quietly but powerfully. Karen's public exposure, her legal penalties, and her viral humiliation weren't just about winning a property fight. It was a message to anyone who thought entitlement and fake authority could override truth, law, and hard work. I breathed in the evening air, proud but calm. We didn't fight for this land just to let someone bully us, I told my family, and we didn't fight for this country to be told we can't protect what's ours. The crowd slowly dispersed, neighbors waving, children laughing, social media buzzing. Justice had been served, legally and morally. And in that quiet moment, I realized the greatest victory wasn't the crushed Bentley or the citations, it was the restoration of peace, family safety, and the undeniable truth that real authority comes from integrity, not intimidation. Karen would be remembered, but not for her power. She would be remembered for her arrogance and how spectacularly it failed. I looked at the barn, the tractor, and the land stretching wide, golden in the sunset, and whispered, "This is ours, always." And with that, the story ended. Twists resolved, justice served, and a reminder that courage, patience, and truth can overcome any fake authority.